developing STEM education and entertainment from real space missions. I'm Tonya Hall, and joining me is Dr. Dante Lauretta, professor of planetary science in the Lunar and Planetary Laboratory at the University of Arizona, principal investigator for the NASA OSIRIS-REx asteroid sample return mission, and co-founder and science advisor of Extranaut Enterprises. Welcome, Dr. Lauretta.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Give us a brief summary of your space and science background and tell us what Extranaut does.
Yeah, I'm a professor of planetary science at the University of Arizona, and my interests are in meteorites and other extraterrestrial materials. Most importantly, samples that we're going to bring back from Asteroid Bennu to help understand the formation of the solar system and the origin of life here on Earth. And I co-founded Extranaut Enterprises with my partner, Mike Lyon, to really bring that excitement of space exploration to the next generation. And we design board games and other educational activities that make science fun and allow people to share in the challenges and the joys of achieving a successful space exploration mission.
Talk a little bit more about how Extranaut supports STEM education.
So we create board game products that have real science content in them in a really fun and engaging way. I've been a huge board game player ever since I was a little kid. It's one of my favorite hobbies, especially in this digital age. I really love the social and the tactile experience of sitting around a table with your friends and playing a game. And when I was trying to figure out what's the best way to share my excitement for this field and to get the next generation inspired to maybe pursue science or technology careers, I said, well, why don't we try a board game? And it actually came out of some volunteer work that I do with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Tucson. I'm a Boys and Girls Club kid myself. I went to that organization when I was young, and it meant a lot to me. And so I started trying to teach them how rockets work, because at the time in the mission, we were getting ready to put the spacecraft on top of a rocket and launch it into outer space. And I found there was a real misconception among the kids that they thought the rocket was the actual thing that was going to the asteroid. And they didn't realize that there's this huge rocket, which is there to launch this relatively tiny spacecraft into space and on its way to the asteroid. So I created kind of trading cards with the different brands of rockets that we use here in the United States. We had Atlas rockets, and we had Delta rockets, and we had Falcon rockets, and we had the up and coming NASA Space Launch System. And the kids really liked that whole idea of taking the cards for the first stage, putting the second stage, putting the spacecraft, putting the two halves of the nose cone or the fairing on top. And so I was like, that would be a great game right there. So it's basically a game where you're trying to collect the right pieces of a rocket. And then you have all these challenges that we encounter in real life space exploration, things like government shutdowns and financial audits and national priority programs taking your equipment. So it kind of folded in almost in a stress relief kind of way for me, all of the things that were getting in the way of getting this thing off the surface of the Earth into the gameplay.
Tell us about Extranaut ISS.
Yeah, Extranaut ISS was a program where we had experiments that kids could perform on Earth, and that the astronauts on board the space station would perform in space, and then they could compare the two results. We had growing crystals, sugar crystals in outer space as kind of the premier one that we launched. And it did reasonably well. I would say we experienced some challenges with the experiment and interpretation of the data, but we thought the overall approach was really exciting, and our partners at NanoRacks have taken that program forward.
Tell us about Extranaut Beyond. Who are your clients and what can they experience?
Extranaut Beyond is a concept right now. We're currently looking for partners. The idea is that we're seeing a really rapid expansion of the commercial sector into spaceflight. And one of the areas that I think is ripe for development is in planetary exploration. We see a lot of commercial spaceflight focused on launch vehicles, with SpaceX being the most successful and well-known example, but lots of other companies are looking at ways to get payloads into outer space, and Earth observing systems as well. But there's not a lot of activity in getting commercial payloads around the moon or near Earth asteroids or Mars, which would be some of the most achievable objectives for spaceflight. So we really want to take the idea of Extranaut, the board games, and Extranaut ISS. We want to see, can we push that into space science? Can we get a student team to work on a mini lunar rover or a space telescope and learn an enormous amount, not only about the engineering and all the logistics of spacecraft operations, but about the science behind it as well.
What recommendations can you offer STEM educators in this time of pandemic-related classroom disruption?
There are a lot of great resources online, and we're really looking at ways to improve that. One of the things I do with my professor hat on at the University of Arizona is I teach a course called Gameful Learning and Community Outreach. Going back to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Tucson, I train University of Arizona undergraduate students to be mentors and work with the kids to use board games as a medium to talk about college life and college higher education aspirations, as well as science and technology and other disciplines. And we're having to pivot now because that was really an in-person program where we went into the clubhouses on a weekly basis and worked with the kids, with our U of A students. And we're transitioning all of that to online activities starting in the fall. Actually, our semester kicks off in about 3 weeks here. So we're going to take all of those ideas and try to move them online. And a lot of other people are doing that. So I know there's a lot of great resources out there. If you go out there, NASA puts out a lot of great educational activities. And so we encourage you to go and find those, seek those out. There's people who want to make this work and want to help you and work with you.
And what's that over your shoulder?
That is Asteroid Bennu. So that is the full rotational movie of the asteroid that we scan the entire surface at 5 centimeters per pixel, remembering that the asteroid is about 500 meters in diameter. That information is available on the OSIRIS-REx website, asteroidmission.org. So we encourage people to go and explore the data. It's also been put out into the NASA planetary data system. So you can get access publicly to all of the information that we've collected from this asteroid and do your own science.
Dr. Dante Lauretta, Professor of Planetary Science in the Lunar and Planetary Laboratory at the University of Arizona, Principal Investigator for the NASA OSIRIS-REx Asteroid Sample Return Mission, and Founder and Science Advisor at Extranaut Enterprises. If somebody wants to connect with you, Dante, maybe they want to find out more about some of the projects you're working on or even how to educate and help students moving forward, what are some of the best ways to connect with you?
If you want to learn about OSIRIS-REx, go to our website, asteroidmission.org. If you want to learn about Extranaut and the products that we offer there, you can go to extranaut.com, and that's Xtronaut. I'm also on Twitter as DS Lauretta, so you can find me there.
Yeah, sounds like a great way. Thanks again, Dante.
Thank you.
And find more of my interviews right here or at tonyahall.net. Thanks for watching.